This is Ready, Set, Reiki, a podcast about Reiki and all energy work. From the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, welcoming all systems, all lineages, all levels. Reiki is a journey and not a destination. And on this Ready, Set, Reiki journey, I refer to myself as a guide rather than host, as I too am traveling, learning, and supporting others on this journey as well. And with that said, I am your guide, Tracy Seawright, and this is Ready, Set, Reiki.
Reiki blessings, my beautiful Reiki family. How wonderful it is for another journey. But before I begin on this journey, I'd like to invite you to Reiki Business Collective. Now, this is free. This is on Facebook. Christian Standing Stone. He is someone who is out here helping support and encourage everyone in Reiki and energy work. This is about sharing, supporting, and serving. It is just an invitation for you to know that you are not alone. When I began my energy work journey, I felt I was on an island, and it was a Google search that took me to a Reiki school, and then a whole new world opened up. So if you are that curious beginner or even that seasoned master teacher, this is a great place to come, and everyone is super supportive. You can promote all the things that you do, meet some really wonderful people of all different variety, all different skill levels, all different experiences. So check out the Reiki Business Collective on Facebook. So back to this journey here as your guide through Ready, Set, Reiki. What a wonderful, amazing guest I have here, Colleen McCann. Now, let me tell you about her. Personal energy stylist. Now, here's a little secret. I was a tomboy. I was not into fashion, all these things. However, I have two daughters that are fashionistas. I mean, amazing. I tell everybody that they suck the beauty out of me, but they would love this. I told my daughter about Colleen, and she's like, "Whoa, this is fascinating." Now, Colleen created style rituals to be a fun and practical experience to get grounded, heal issues, practice self-care, build better boundaries, tap into your intuition, and more. Now, after straddling the fashion industry and wellness industries for the last 20 years, she developed her own brand of glamour magic by blending her experiences as a designer, stylist, brand stylist, healer, mentor, teacher, coach, author, and a serial entrepreneur. I love it. Isn't it amazing? I mean, so much wealth of knowledge here. Now, her journey to becoming the energy stylist started in New York City. She was working in fashion and realized that statement pieces had superpowers. Colors worn influence a person's energy, and her intuition could be used to heal herself and inspire others. Now, she ended up jumping high-heeled first down the mystical rabbit hole, traveling all over the world, studying healing modalities, and eventually connecting all of her skills and passions to creating style rituals. So let's give a real Ready, Set, Reiki welcome to Colleen. Welcome. This is so exciting. My daughters are going to be thrilled by this. They are intuitive. I believe they're healers, so they're going to be right into this.
Hi, Tracy. Thank you for having me.
Beautiful. So let's begin our journey together. So I told our listeners a little bit about you, but I know there is a way more. You brought the word up, rabbit hole, right? So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I have been exploring and adventuring in the mystical rabbit hole for about 20 years. 10 years first was all training, and the last 10 years I've been in business professionally at style rituals. And as you had mentioned, I started out in the fashion industry, and it was, I was in my late 20s, probably like 27 or so. And my Saturn return started kicking in. For anybody that doesn't know what that is, when you hit your first Saturn return in your late 20s, it tends to flip your life upside down, which chaos creates great change, right? So, and chaos and change doesn't exactly have to be bad, but you start to see people like switching jobs, moving across the country, having babies, getting married, weird things happening that are causing great life shifts or great, maybe mental, physical, emotional, spiritual awakenings. And mine happened to be in the spiritual department. And I had all of my spidey senses kind of come online within about 2 weeks. And that happening in one of the loudest, most condensed cities in the world was really challenging. And I can tell you, I started hearing voices in a bodega in the middle of the night, and then I started watching ghosts walk through my apartment walls in Brooklyn into my neighbor's apartment. I was having premonition dreams, just knowing things that I couldn't explain. And the real cherry on top was being on the New York City subway, and I had many different people come up to me and say, "Hey, stranger, excuse me, I have a message for you. Um, you are a healer, and your whole life is about to change." So that's where it started.
Isn't that something? I mean, I have been to New York a couple of times and the energy there. So
Yeah.
it does not surprise me that you have, let's call them friends,
Yeah.
show themselves. Oh my goodness. Well, what amazing. And especially when people are coming up to you and telling you, you have this gift, you have this ability. And it just surprises you. It's like, really? Me?
Yeah. Well, I
So,
didn't I didn't understand what they were talking about because I grew up in the Midwest and in a strict Irish Catholic family. This was not part of the curriculum. And I think people always show spiritual awakening as this like aha moment and like the light's really big and angels are singing. And I literally was like, fuck my life, crying in the corner, running away
yeah.
from whatever this was that I didn't have words for. And you have to remember this is about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So we have no social media except Facebook is kind of around. You can't hashtag healer, Reiki, shaman, crystals, any of these words. You can't go searching for things.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist yet. So I was very much alone on my own island and completely like, okay, am I crazy?
Hmm. Yeah. It made me think like, remember MySpace? That wouldn't have been a place
Yeah.
to show the crystals and the healing. We just had such limited resources then, and
Yeah.
people think it's all magical and you're going to walk around in like a white dress with a robe and be like, kumbaya, and it's really just rocks your world. I mean, you lose friendships and your family questions you and you're like, what's happening? And oh my goodness, and getting so overly emotional, right? But it's returning you to your true authentic nature. So all this beautiful experience that you have, and we're looking back to where you began on this journey with energy work. So do you think that the energy work found you, or did you find energy work?
I think we collided.
Okay. Okay.
We found each other, I guess, is the best way to put it. And I would say it's something that's completely changed the course of my life, my career, who I hang out with, how I view the world, what my daily practices are. It really did shift everything for me and for the better, even though it was definitely a bit of a rocky start.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's amazing once you get connected and you start shifting and changing that the people that slowly move away, right?
Yeah.
And, then the people show up. I mean, I moved from Pittsburgh to El Paso, and within a pretty quick time, like the people showed up. And it doesn't matter that it's been like only 3 years. They feel like I've known them lifetimes. It's like, wait a minute, like,
Yeah.
and you get closer and more supportive than family. You probably found that too in your industry too, that you have strangers who are more supportive to you than cousins and other relatives. So it's just
Yeah,
amazing.
absolutely.
So as you're in this journey, 20 years, the modalities, creating your own modality, what are some of the misconceptions that you're finding about energy work, whether misconceptions that you had or that people come up to you and share with you?
Hmm. I think a common misconception is that you go away for a weekend training in a modality, just pick one because there's so many, and you become whatever that thing is. It really, this is a daily practice, a lived practice, something that stays with you. And that always makes me really nervous when I see people that have not in depth explored whatever they're very interested in, and already, kind of billing themselves as this thing without proper experience or training, whether that's through a formal school or a mentor of some kind. So I think that there's a misconception with how much it takes, how much work and practice it takes to kind of cultivate and maintain what you're doing, because you also, as a practitioner, have to keep your energy clean and live in a certain way when you're working with somebody.
Yeah, I think people get so excited and then they're so, I think in the United States, so money conscious that, oh, look, I found this online training. It is $9.99. I can become a master in like 3 days, right? And then they just jump in and then they jump out and they're like, okay, I am ready to heal, heal, heal. And then, the energy does take care of it. It will shut it down. I don't think people get that, you need to get your things in order, your house clean before you can help others, because things pick up, unintentionally. I've gone into situations feeling completely, totally repaired, and something follows me home, or something happens to my dog, or something happens in the house. I've been doing this like 30 days of Reiki on Insight Timer, and clearing things, doing all the things I know to do, and this starts breaking and that starts breaking and this starts falling. I'm like, right, what is happening here? Right, because the energy has to go somewhere. You have this collective of 100 people that are watching you, right? And that energy is transmitted, whether it is in person or it's online, and it's got to go somewhere, right? So shooting here and breaking this, I mean, big things were breaking. My laptop broke, my TV broke, my dishwasher broke. And, my reaction to it could have been like, but healed. Okay, this is what this is. We got to do a little bit more cleansing. we're aware.
Absolutely.
So, and this is why you need someone. Now, I don't want to put down any online learning, because when you become that master teacher, there are some great, fantastic resources. But when you start out, please get a teacher if it's online and they're physically like you and I are talking, to guide you through it, to ask questions, because it can be quite interesting. And then, you go from working on yourself to helping others, and then you grow as a business. And then you come to a point where you have to shift and change and may pivot as well. So there's a whole lot to this other than just, placing hands and I'm going to lay it on you and make everything okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was not informed when I started this, and with my journey, I ended up studying once a week with a teacher privately for 3 years, and other mentors came into my life in all kinds of modalities. And then like the next big training was going to a big school for 3 years. So I got to learn in a wildly different environment instead of one-on-one. But like the whole rub of all this is like what they don't tell you and what's so important, and I didn't know, as you mentioned, Tracy, like the self-work, like you have to understand who you are, understand your shadows, start to clear your shit, right? We all have shit. That's why we're in a human body. Like healers are not perfect and don't have perfect days and perfect lives and the whole thing, right? We are dealing with all the normal human stuff. But it's so important to, I think in my opinion, to like get yourself as like clean as possible, understand your shadows, know why you're being triggered this way, know how to be the best clear channel for your client that you can be, and like step out of the way, right? You're not there to input your opinions. You're there as a channel.
Right. And just, don't get so hyper focused on the price, right? And do your homework on the people too. Like if someone has a lot of credentials and a lot of experience, they're priced that way for a reason, right? And
Yeah.
so versus like, okay, well, I'm going to get this for $9. And again, once you become that master teacher, that might be a fantastic resource. There might be some great things in there, a little extra tools, but to have that guidance of that physical teacher in the lineage, that's how it's supposed to be, from teacher to
Yeah.
help you and be that support too. So you're honoring the system as well. And when you think about it, it's really the ego where you're like, I'm going to go out and heal and I'm going to save the world and put my super cape on, right? But you figure Superman, look at the challenges he had, right?
Yeah.
He had his kryptonite that took him down,
He,
right? So
he did.
everyone out there has a kryptonite and the trigger, and we have tools in our energetic toolbox for when it comes up. Okay. And if that doesn't work, we have the intelligence and we made friends with our ego that we can go to those resources to get help as well. So, well, this one is, you're out there, you're helping others here with their ritual. You're the spiritual stylist here. What has been the biggest challenge or struggle you have faced in your own healing journey?
Oh my gosh, the biggest or most challenging thing I would have to say was honestly running away from this.
Oh, yeah.
I just, and the more I ran, the more it came after me, the louder it got, the weirder the things that were happening around me. Like I couldn't ignore it. And once I actually started to interact what was going on around me, make commitment to go to a class, make commitment to study with the teacher, read about something, right? Just believe it was happening.
Mhm.
I think that was my biggest challenge, was being the biggest skeptic. And of course, for there seasoned healers out there that are listening, and really wise advice for people that are just getting into this, whatever your big life challenges are or big mirrors that you have, those are the clients that walk through the door,
Mhm.
because that's things that you have faced and you've gone through the challenge and you kind of understand all that. Even, right, I see people that have very similar family dynamics to me, and that doesn't even need to be like ancestral trauma. It could be like, I'm the oldest of three girls, so I get people that come in that are the oldest sister, right? And I'm like, oh, here we go, I know all about this one. Or people that worked in fashion, or people that lived in Brooklyn, or people that also had a really hard awakening. So I think it's important to kind of work through ancestral traumas, shadows, figure out who you are, because whatever all of that is going to come and knock on your door.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It makes me go back to when I was, doing teacher trainings, and the groups of people, you'll see the similarities. They're either all teachers, all nurses, all getting a divorce, all kind of things that you've kind of
Mm-hmm.
danced around with. And it's like, isn't this interesting that the energy
Oh
works
boy.
in a way that it kind of brings it together? And it makes me think of last week I got to see Wicked Good. And, you know, Galinda was always people pleasing. She was that political pawn in the movie, and she was supposed to be, Galinda the good, but the magic couldn't work. So when you think about it, that's the block, because she wasn't her true authentic self. Where Elphaba was her true authentic self, and she made reality bend, right? To conform around her. So, Wicked's kind of an interesting way of looking at things too, with what you need to heal, right? And what you got to work on, and who you can be your true authentic self with. And it even goes back even further to like the original Wizard of Oz, about, following that yellow road with your solar plexus and the Emerald City being your heart. All roads lead to your heart.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. So, when it is time for you to get an energetic tune up, what are some qualities you look for a Reiki practitioner? And if you do not get energetic tune ups, what are some qualities that you look at as very valuable for a teacher, for you, like you were attracted to the teacher that you chose?
Okay. So I jumped down a lot of rabbit holes, as I mentioned. I'm a Sagittarius rising, so I'm like
Uh,
incredibly curious, incredibly adventurous. Let me go learn about everything. And I've always been a big believer, and I would tell any of my students or clients this, of like, take what serves you and leave the rest behind. I would say when I was picking schools, trainings, teachers, mentors, anything that falls into that umbrella. Obviously, first of all, there's a intuitive gut feeling that you have to follow that piece of like, I've got to show up here for some reason, even if I totally don't understand where this is taking me. And I think there's also a piece of looking at, as you mentioned, Tracy, what is this person's lived experience that they've had? Have they been teaching a long time? Have, who are they holding space for? Does it even make sense for me to be in this training? So I think what's really important is to like do your research both internally and externally, right? You're like looking at all the like facts and figures about this person, this school, to see if it's a good fit. And you're also internally like, does this resonate with me? Because right, just because these two other people went to this school and did this with this person, but your body's just like, oh, that's just not for me.
Yeah.
Right, that might not be the right person, the right lineage, the right type of healing modality that I'm supposed to engage in for some reason.
Right. And I even do that like with hairdressers and dentists and doctors.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember years ago when I had to find a doctor, and this is before all of this, I looked up in the phone book, right? Who remembers phone books?
I do.
And, and I saw Dr. Mary Baker. I'm like, wow, that's a really nice name. And that's how I picked my doctor, because it was just something about the name. And be careful who lays hands on you, right? And especially someone who's going to be your mentor and support you through these times. And you want someone that can be available and say, hey, here's my number. Contact me anytime with any questions. I mean, I got trained 5 years ago in this one particular modality, and I can still reach out to that teacher with a question because things come up too. I don't have all the answers. And then I'll work with a client. I'm like, okay. And then I'll ask someone else. And they're like, I've never had that happen. Then I ask somebody else. I've never had that happen. I'm like, this is interesting. Like the people who have walked a little further on the journey than me. So things do come up that are just very interesting. I had a student that she messaged me at 3 a.m. and she said, hey, I think your spirit guide's here. I'm like, excuse me? And she said, and I thought, well, that's interesting. And that was the question I asked my teacher. Did you ever lose your spirit guide to one of your students? And then at first I was a little offended. I'm like, oh, they left me? Like, and the student described what I had seen. She didn't even know. I'm like, I know who that is. That is, well, they're here. I'm like, do you want me to ask them to come back? No, they can stay. So that was unusual, right? So
yeah, totally unusual.
Yeah, but you have to be healed enough to, like, that took me a minute. I'm like, okay, breathe. They must have a purpose, and maybe that guy came to me and supposed to go to her, and that's a little bit of internal work there. So
Absolutely. And Tracy, you really bring up such a great point about like having an army of mentors
right.
behind you. And I think about, right, just because you work in the healing industry doesn't mean you're healed, doesn't mean you have all the answers, doesn't mean all these things, right? Like you're still working through stuff like everybody else. And I think about the thing, like therapists have therapists, right?
Yes.
Healers should have other healing mentors that they can go to and talk about things, some kind of like trusted processor that, to your point, you're like, what happens when my spirit guide goes on walkabout? Like, what is this?
Yeah. And I mean, I actually have a new mentor because I have all this experience and I have different modalities. I still keep learning. So I've entered into another kind of 3-4 year mentorship, like teaching program. And my first one, I had an apprentice several years ago. I apprenticed off of a master teacher, and she had said things that ended up that I needed in the future. And so that taught me I really need to listen.
Yeah.
And one of the things that she shared was, as her father was dying, she changed the way she was giving Reiki. It was like, I want to save you. I want to save you, to this is his journey. I need to do that transition. Little did I know, a couple of years later, I would be in the same situation with my father. And the one day I came into the hospital and I said, "How are you doing today, Dad?" And he said, "Just shoot me." And it was in that moment, because he was getting 24-hour Reiki at that point, that I realized my teacher's words, my mentor's words were meant for me. That story was meant to help me. And then I realized I need to shift this for him to transition. He's ready to go home. And that's why you need that mentor, because those messages are there to help you. And I could have just given my dad Reiki till the end and not ready, but I had to make peace and heal myself because I wasn't really ready to let him go. But
absolutely,
that's unconditional love, where he needed to go. So that's part of the learning process as well, and why you need why you need a really great, strong teacher, loving teacher, one that you resonate with, one you feel their energy. So as a serial entrepreneur, what advice would you give someone who is just entering this spiritual work?
Okay, that's a great question. So somebody that's entering spiritual work that probably wants to, let's say, start a business, start a small practice, go out on their own, somewhere in there, right? I think something big that I learned was you never know how a modality is actually going to kind of shake out for you, I think. Like for me, I went to a school that was extremely deep in hands-on healing. And I realized that I don't like hands-on healing. I don't like to,
Right.
I can teach it. I know it in and out. I'm good at it. I also don't like doing it day in and day out. And I prefer doing things that are more divination oriented and more a chat between people, right? More of a therapy coach setting. It's just what I enjoy. But I had to go to school to learn to do that. So I would say don't go in with a super hard plan about why you're there. There's been so many modalities I've studied that I'm like, hey, this is really cool. And I'm never professionally going to do this, but I'll take something and put it into my personal practice. Or it's just something I needed to learn about for whatever reason. So I think having flexibility in how whatever this modality or modalities is going to show up in your life, and to also let it change. My work in the world in the last 10 years within the healing and wellness industry has had several big shifts. My practice does not look like it does the day I started it.
That's for sure. It's that ability to pivot. And I'm sure many of the practitioners who've been doing this 10, 20 years never imagined online, right? That was a big adjustment for some people, and what are we going to do? But what a blessing it is, because, we can connect. We can connect all over the world. But yeah, when I went in for, Reiki level 1, it was just to feel better. Like things weren't working. I just was tired of grieving and getting upset, and I wanted to help my family. And I never imagined, and I was more into yoga. And so, I created Feather Sister yoga, and then it had to become wellness, and then Ready Set Reiki came about. And I have people say, well, you need an umbrella. You should have just had Ready Set Reiki, but I have Feather Sister. Now I've got 2 businesses. Then I have Beep Beep the Yoga Jeep. Now it's 3. I'm like, what's happening? And you kind of want this one umbrella. So I'll often see someone I'll give you an example, Reiki Lifestyles. Well, that's perfect. That's a whole thing, right? Oh my goodness. And I've got 3 different things here, right? And then do I merge it? Do I keep it separate? But each has a different thing. But then when I look at my personality, I'm an Aries, right? Fire energy makes sense. So you're going to pivot and change and question things. You're going to upgrade your website. So just go with the flow on that. And it's necessary. We have this shifting, changing. The world's changing. So we have to change as well. So, yeah. So what books do you recommend?
Well, I recommend my book,
All
Crystal
right.
RX. That's the first book I recommend. Let's see, in 2018, HarperCollins asked me to write a book on crystals, which I was super excited and honored to do. And I really structured that book for beginners because I wanted people that were just getting into this and who didn't have a manual like I didn't when I was first learning crystals, that they could take away from this of like the must-have crystals and where to put them and how to do a grid and how to make gem water and how to clear your crystals and how to clean them and what can't you put out under the full moon and all these different things. And since I have that background in fashion, I really styled it after a magazine. So there were a lot of interviews in there with people who worked all over different industries with crystals so that I could show people, I'm like, hey, if this doesn't work for you in this way, try this, right? There's a thousand ways to do this. So I would definitely recommend my book.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Love it. I love it. So you have a lot that you're offering, all your experience. What services do you offer? Do you do classes, events, trainings? Tell us everything.
Sure. So as I mentioned, and we're talking to people here if they're just on their healing journey and getting into this. When I started 10 years ago, my work looked strictly like one-on-one in-person sessions in New York and Los Angeles. And then how did it pivot again? I got into doing things online. It was in the pre-COVID era I started doing online, so I felt very grateful. I already had that structure in place before the world changed. So then that happened. Also around that time, I got into doing very big events for brands. And again, I went where it felt natural. I've worked in fashion, beauty, and entertainment my whole career. So if there was like a makeup launch or a movie premiere or some kind of party for a press party, I would go and do mini crystal readings at all these events. And people got to take the crystal and they got to take it home in a little Style Rituals gift bag. And it was really fun. So from there, at that time, I was kind of behind the scenes and learning more about space clearing work. So I'm learning different ways of clearing homes and land. And also at that time, I got a little bit more into working with corporations and doing things that we would now call like a Wellness Wednesday or doing small retreats with companies. I can say no matter whether it's individual or in some kind of group setting, nobody ever calls me forward to work with them unless they're going through massive moments of transformation and transition. So whether that's somebody privately that, birth, death, divorce, uh, big job change, right? Like anything that could happen there, or a company that's like, hey, our creative team is stuck. Can you help them? Our C-suite's angry. We are starting a new division to a company and need some guidance on something. So it's always in great moments of transformation that's been like probably the only thread in my business, I would say. And the space clearing has really taken off. I was very lucky. I got a big mention in the Wall Street Journal mansion section about my work with land clearing. And that's gotten very, very interesting because, again, that's pushed me into a realm that I'm working with people in their private homes or contractor. He's got dirt, right? And I'm going to grid the land before he builds something, or working with interior designers, architects, who else? Real estate agents, which has gotten really interesting because I will go in and energetically clear space before or after the house has been sold, depending on who the client is. So yeah, my work has really evolved, and I will always let it continue to evolve.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I can't tell people how important it is to do that energetic clearing with the house. I actually, a
Yeah.
few months ago, um, when I moved from Pittsburgh to El Paso, my husband was already here. And my husband bought a home where I physically did not walk through. And I had dreams about it. I was begging him to get out of it. And he's like, you're going to love it. And I walk through the door. I'm like, oh no, hell no.
There
And
was a
he
funk.
wanted, yeah. And he said I picked this room as your yoga and Reiki room. And I said, I can't even walk in here. No. And I went to each room and I'm like, I'm going to go into this one. He goes, it's one of the smaller ones. I said, I don't care. And I worked on that, but it was the land. And we live in an area very close to the border. And it took still 3 years to come in, and I would have the podcast, I would teach, I do trainings, and someone would say, there's something in your house. And I was like, I know, made friends with it. And I even had these conversations, like, I'm going to take care of you till the next family. And my husband loved the house. I mean, he was so attached to this house, he would have left me for it. Right. And I just couldn't understand that connection. And finally something shifted and he's like, okay, we can go. And I mean, I got out of there and I was interviewing a gentleman on here and he had said after our interview, he said, there's something in your land. I said, I know. He said, if you don't get your husband out of that house by August, he's going to have a heart attack. And I just went into that warrior Aries mode. I'm like, I got to get him out, and got him out. We moved out in June. That cleared things, and prayed, and like hopefully that other family, because my husband couldn't feel it. I had other people that walked through that couldn't feel it. The people that were in the spiritual world could feel it. So I'm like, okay, and let it go. So it's so important. So reach out when you're getting that new house, you're leaving, you're building. I've heard people put crystals. Who was it? Tyler, that actor. They put Bibles in the land before they build.
Well, that's interesting.
So they put Bibles because it was an area down south, I guess, with slavery. So they buried the Bibles in the land. So it's really, really important to clear that energy. And when I moved in here, the same person that told me to get my husband out, he said, oh, there's 3 spirits in the new house, but don't worry, they're friendly. They're going to help you. So there we go. So where can we find you? Where, if we want to book this session, how to get in touch with you?
Yes. So if you are in New York or LA, I can see you in person. Otherwise, I work worldwide on Zoom, and you can book a session at stylrituals.com. And I'm on all the socials at style_rituals.
Perfect. All right. Well, this ends the first part of our journey. And here I'm going to guide you into the second part with our questions from listeners and Reiki students. So here we go. Number 1, where do you see the energy stylist creating or manifesting in the next year? So our year's coming up, the year of the horse, 2026 here.
Yes. So yes, the fire horse, which we know is like 2026 is the number 1 year. It's a year of new beginnings. Fire is, transformation. Horses are like fast moving. And I will say I have a lot of fun things coming up that I'm not able to talk about yet.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Number 2, how important is self-care in healing work? You mentioned healing and high heels.
Self-care is the most important thing in healing work. If you don't show up for yourself, you cannot show up for somebody else.
Beautiful. Number 3, can you share or talk about the most powerful piece that you have created, whether it was a jewelry or a physical item?
I haven't, and I don't want to confuse people. I haven't designed anything while I've been in the spiritual space. I used to be a designer and a stylist, so that was a really long time ago. So I haven't designed anything that I could share at this point. Like, I don't own a crystal jewelry company, if that makes sense.
Right. Is there any particular piece that you physically wear?
Oh, well.
That's what that one. Yeah. So I think that's what they meant when they submitted it, is something that you have. So creating is, say, like, I take this and I, imbue it with the energy, and maybe,
Sorry, I used to design, so my brain went to
Of course. I gotcha.
Yeah, I'll design something.
Yeah, sure.
Gosh, I wish I could pick up the laptop and take you into my closet. So, I have a whole area of jewelry. I am a massive fan of crystal talismans, and I wouldn't say that I have one that is the most powerful, but I'm a very practical person about energy work, and I wear something because that's what I need to wear today. For example, I have on a clear quartz right now, and we know that's amplifying. I'm wearing white, which is very amplifying because Tracy and I are sitting here talking, and I need to be seen and need to be heard and have my voice amplified. So I'm wearing something that's medicinal for the moment that you and I are in together. So I say I mean, crystals and color I'm wearing with purpose. If I'm at a full moon ceremony, at a fire, I'm in all black because in the traditions that I've studied with, it's traditional and for safety to wear all black to that. And hey, guess what? It's also practical because if sparks fly, there's dust everywhere, you're kneeling on the ground, you're in the dirt, you're in the sand, like don't wear white to a fire ceremony for
Yeah.
practical reasons. It's
Yeah.
the fashion stylist in me
Yeah.
talking. So yeah, I guess I love my talismans. That would probably
Beautiful.
be my favorite spiritual
Beautiful.
pieces that
Well,
I have.
and I don't know if like I've been doing the podcast for a while. I think I'm up to like 179 episodes. And if people pay attention, I'm always wearing black when I sit down. So I always have a black shirt,
Yeah.
something long sleeve, have my crystals. I was sharing before we began that I can always tell a really good healer by my dogs. So my dogs, I can tell you, are so close. So Colleen's the real thing. They're right here on the laptop. So there we are.
The gang's all here.
The gang is all here, snoozing, snoring. There we go. So so that was our last question. As we were speaking, is there anything else you have forgotten or something that you want to share to let everybody know about you?
Oh gosh, I mean, I think we talked about everything. Anybody that does resonate with me, I'd be so excited to talk to, whether it's for a one-on-one session or some type of little mentorship package, or you're just getting into the industry. I work with a lot of people that have just opened and are like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you, Colleen, for joining me on this journey. It has been so wonderful. My daughters are going to be so excited. They're big fashionistas. They love it. So color. And I was doing something yesterday where I had to be on camera. There was a film crew, and I was like, man, I wish my daughter was here to do my makeup.
Aw.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Tracy.
All right, my wonderful listeners, if you'd like your question featured on Ready Set Reiki, reach out www.readysetreiki.com or check me out on social media. I post who's coming on, send me a question, get it here, and you can hear about it on Ready Set Reiki. So I'm Tracy Seawright, and this has been Ready Set